There you go. Now you're ready. Unmute it and unvideo.
And they don't have to click on anything.
No, that's done.
Because this is the link when people want to come. No, I'm saying this is the link when people come and try and talk in.
No, but that's the same thing.
It only starts at 4 o'clock.
There he is, there.
How you, Mart?
Hello, my boy. I don't know how to get my, David, please, how to get my picture on.
Your picture is on. We can see you.
Okay.
We can see you. So Kalki's also here. I'm promoting Kalki to the panel. Welcome to Louise and Julie and Jenny as well in the audience.
Okay.
So guys, as you can tell, we are going live at 4 o'clock. We have just opened up the call a little bit early just to get our ducks in a row here.
Okay. So I don't have to do anything, hey?
You can chill, Mart. You can talk to the audience if you want. You can talk to us. You can schmooze. You can have a coffee. It's all good. Kalki, how's it?
And you? How's
Great.
my video? Right.
Great, great. I'm making you a co-host, Kalki, so you'll have full control.
Great. Hello, Martel.
Hello, boy. How's it?
And you?
Good, man. Let's just a quick one. Gordon Aarons.
Yes.
Sends his regards, by the way.
Thank you. How's it?
We've sent it to. We've got a group that Henny Jaber's on, and there's quite a lot of people, 60, 70 people. We've sent it to that link as well.
Fantastic. Thank you. That'll be great.
Some of it's players and stuff like that, but we just sent it to them as well. Okay, I'm just going to go and have a quick shave quickly, and then I'll.
Perfect. I had one this morning as well. Then.
I'll see you guys.
Don't forget the top, man.
No. Cheers.
Okay,
how's the turnout for tonight?
It's looking good. It's looking good. Yeah, there's close to 1,000 people registered. So, guys, Julie, Jenny, and Louise, welcome, guys. Thank you for tuning in. We can't see you and we can't hear you, but that's all good because this is a webinar. So you'll be hearing from the panelists, obviously Jomo, Martin, and Dean. So we're going to get going at 4 o'clock sharp. You'll see that there's a chat button at the bottom. So chat with us. Let us know where you are. Let us know how you are. Hopefully you are well and safe. I'm also going to share the link with a couple of people.
Yeah, that'll be great. Back in a second, Dan.
Hi guys.
How's the Dean? How you doing?
All good, thanks, Kalk. Are you well?
Yeah,
What's
no,
up, Dean?
thanks.
Good, good. Dan, Martin, how's it going?
Mart's muted.
How do I unmute?
No,
There we
you're
go.
done.
I'm done.
Unmuted.
Can you hear me? Okay, that's good. Another day, eh?
Just waiting for Jomo to join us.
Another day done, nearly.
Dean, how's Melrose Arch? Nice?
Quiet, very, very quiet.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I've actually been very lucky because the basement is massive, so I've got a huge space to run. No one
Yes.
bothers me down there, so I've been doing some good running.
Yes.
Wow, that's awesome.
So I've been quite lucky. I've got a wall. I play a lot of tennis. So I've got a wall that I play tennis against. So that's what's keeping me sane. It's just me here in lockdown. My wife's gone back to the UK.
Okay.
She's due to give birth next month. So
Mazel tov.
thank you. Getting my bit of exercise is the only thing that's keeping me going right now. It just
Yeah,
kind of spreads
I know.
the day. So
No.
yeah, it's call it the dungeon. The dungeon.
So you're doing burpees in the kitchen and sprints in the underground dungeon.
Exactly. Trying to make the best of it.
Yeah. So, yeah, I tell you, we'll hear tonight what we can and can't do. I think he just should, release that we can go out for an hour. Like Larry's in London.
Yeah.
He goes out for an hour. He either jogs or he does some exercise or whatever. I think the exercise is so important for people.
Yeah.
Because it just takes your mind off whatever's happening.
Yeah, the difficulty is when people abuse it. People have abused it in the UK.
Yeah.
They think they've had nice weather. So now
Yeah.
all of a sudden, people who've never run in their life are all of a sudden marathon runners. Everyone's a runner or a cyclist. Or
Yeah.
they've never done a run or a walk in their life. But now that it's people have just abused it. Like if you can trust the people to do it correctly, then great. But people are sunbathing and it's,
But when we used to go to London with the family, we stayed in Kensington, and there's some wonderful parks, Kensington Park, and there's Hyde Park, and there's all parks that people can go to. I remember one day it must have been a cup final in May, and it was a hot day, and I walked through Kensington Park, and there were women sitting with their tops off with just their bra on because they were sitting in the sun. I looked twice. What's happening here? Because as the weather has improved in England over the years, but when the sun comes out, people in England want to go to the parks and relax and stuff like that.
It's true. It's a different country when there's a bit of sunshine.
It is a different country, even on the tubes. In winter on the tubes, everyone's duffel coat and sitting like this. In summer, it's like they've got a slight smile on their face in the tubes.
People are so much friendlier.
I know.
It's such a difference.
Yeah,
So
it is true.
I said to my wife and my family, I said, like, imagine this if it was in the middle of November or December when it's chucking it every day.
Yeah.
And you really are confined to being at home. But now the weather's nice, everyone's walking, everyone's out. So if there's any sort of positivity, at least there's some sunshine and people can. Yeah.
They say that, and this is just hearsay, that the hotter it is, the better, the less people will get sick, because it kills it in the heat. Yeah. So, but we don't really know the truth.
Doesn't do well for us. Doesn't help us here going into winter, does it?
Yeah.
Mark, anyway. There's a Julie Kaplan saying hello on the chat.
How's it, Jules? Colonel. I can't hear him.
And Ronald Furman is tuning in from a hot London. So, Dean, who's that?
My dad. That is my parents. Yeah. Is there any way we can find the link on Zoom? I'm just trying to send the link to my wife. She's struggling to get on.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. I'll send it to you in the chat. I'll send it to everybody in the chat now.
Great, thank you.
Now I can see everybody.
Hello, Fatty.
Hi, how you doing, Fatty?
I'm okay, my man. I'm okay.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Dean, how are you?
Jomo, very well, thanks. How are you, Coach?
Not too bad, not too bad. Danny, good to see you again.
How's it, Jomo? Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Welcome, Jomo. Thanks for coming. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm sure there's going to be a whole bunch of people joining in the next couple of minutes. So it's about 3:01, so I'll pull down the screen share in a few seconds, and we'll just introduce and obviously tell you sitting at home how you can chat with the panelists and how you can ask questions. We've got a few nice, exciting polls to run as well. So thank you to you for tuning in from wherever you are in the world. We're going to get cracking in a couple of seconds. Okay, if you have just joined us, then welcome and let us know where you are. You can post a message in the chat. You can message to all panelists, which will be the default, or you can message to all panelists and attendees. So that will go through to everybody. So Julie's asking to chat, do you have to add me to the panel? If you want to chat at some stage, obviously we've got quite a lot to discuss on the panel itself, but we will definitely open it up to the audience and you'll be able to raise your hand, your virtual hand. There's a button at the bottom for raising your virtual hand, so you can look out for that. And we definitely want to include some audience members in the conversation as well. Let's pull down the screen share. So now you'll be able to see us, all the panelists in all their glory. So, all right, guys, welcome. Kalk, over to you. I think you're going to give a little welcome to everybody, and then also just bearing in mind that it's 4 o'clock sharp. We do want to start quite promptly, but I'm sure there's a few people going to join in the next couple of minutes.
Excellent. Yeah, thanks, Dan. Welcome, everyone, and thank you from all of us at Discovery Soccer Park for joining us this afternoon. This is the first of what hopes to be many panels. We'll be announcing the next panel at the end of today's session, so we have another one lined up for Monday night again, which will be great. Yeah, we've got some fantastic and some of SA's great legends here, current and past. We've got great Jomo Sono, Martin Cohen, and Dean Furman. Welcome, guys, and thank you very much for giving of your time to be with us today. I know we've all got a lot of time on our hands at the moment, so it gives a great opportunity for us to share your experiences and what you've been doing during lockdown and your vision for the future post-lockdown to share with all our guests here today. A big thank you again to Excel Academy and Dan Stillerman for hosting us, the hosting partner. Dan's been running quite a few of these webinars over the last couple of weeks. He's become a pro and I think added a new dimension to his business. So thank you, Dan. It's really great. And if any of you
My pleasure.
haven't
Thank
signed
you.
up for any one of Dan's courses just yet, please do so.
We
I'm
actually have
busy
a
with,
free, I don't want to give myself too
amazing.
much of a punt, but there's a free crash course tomorrow at 11 o'clock. So that's like an Excel Essentials. Martin's laughing. Maybe he joined in the one yesterday and he's going to join in tomorrow as well. So if anybody's keen, it's going to be an hour and just really very practical. Just get your hands dirty with Excel and we break it down very step by step. Simple. It will be like this over a Zoom webinar as well. So I'll post the link in the chat just in case you're interested.
Excellent. I'm busy doing one of Dan's courses at the moment. Excel, he does all the Excel courses. So really fantastic and they're great courses. So I really encourage you guys all to join us. Guys, everyone that's joining us, I think, knows the history and knows who we've got with us today. And as I said earlier, thank you very much for joining us. SA footballing legends. So it's really great to have you. How it's going to work, I've got a couple of questions that we're just going to put forward to the panel. After that, Dan will go through the process, but there's a little Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. If you post your question in there, we'll monitor the questions. And if you want to ask the question live, we'll promote you guys and you'll be able to ask the question directly and get your answers from the guys. And yeah, we look forward to a really interesting session. It's great to have people from all around the world joining us today. And yeah, hope you all enjoy it. So, guys, just going to start off with a couple of questions from my side and that have been put forward by the staff at Discovery Soccer Park that we've been working on the last couple of weeks. And the first question is actually to everyone. So I'm going to ask Jomo, if you can want to start. Just what's the most memorable game that you ever played that comes to mind?
The most memorable game which comes to mind was, I would say, the first Bafana when we played against Argentina at Trent Stadium, when it was the first multiracial team in this country. That's the most memorable game. Fatty remembers the game very well.
Yeah, I certainly do, Jomo, and you know, and I'm not trying to be flash or anything, but I think you would agree with me, Jomo, because I know you sat next to me in the change room. And on the night, there was no color bar in the change room or on the field with us, and soccer won on the night. And I'm being serious with this. We could have beaten England, South America, Brazil on that night. Football won on the night, and it's my favorite remembering of football as well, Jomo, because you scored 4 goals and Bobby Viljun scored the 5th one to make it 5-0. And those Argentinian World Cup players played in the World Cup, I think, 4 years prior to coming out to South Africa. So, you know, it was a fantastic evening.
Actually, that game unified the country because it was the first.
Yeah.
Before that, it was Indian team, black team, white team, colored team playing against each other. And for the first time, they selected black and white team, colored Indians were all one. And I agree with you. All you wanted to do that night was to play for this country and unify it.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. Thank you. And Mott, is that, I suppose, one of your most memorable games, or is there something else that you...
Yeah, listen, you know, Jomo and myself, we played in America in 77. And that was an experience in itself because there were some world-class players playing with Jomo and with Los Angeles Aztecs as well. But I cannot ever remember feeling the feelings that I had, and I'm sure Jomo and the other 16 players in the squad felt the same way, that we were making history in this country and we had to win for the country, not just for ourselves.
Fantastic. No, look, it's great. Soccer is a great unifier and brings people together, and that's one of our main goals at Discovery Soccer Park, is to bring people together through the game of football. So it's fantastic that kind of experience works across and breaks down colour barriers. Dean, your side?
Yeah, similar to the legends. I I know this is called the Legends chat, but I'm not quite a legend like our two other panelists.
No.
For me, it's my Bafana debut. That was the great thing about it was that it kind of came out of nowhere. I got a call off Coach Gordon Iggerson whilst I was in England. No one had ever heard of me. No one had ever really given me an opportunity. And he said, "Listen, we're going to Brazil next week. How would you like to join us?" And so I thought, well, amazing. Let's go along. I'll train all week. If I get on the bench, amazing. If I get 2 minutes at the end, incredible. And I went out there, trained really hard. Tried to feel like I was in my own environment, as if I was still at my club. I just thought to myself, what's the point of going there and being shy and not wanting the ball or standing in the corner? I just thought, I'm going to interact. I'm going to be like normal. Next thing, on Friday night, Coach Gordon announced the team, and I was starting. I couldn't believe it. I was hoping to get on the bench, let alone get on the pitch. Next thing, I was starting, and I'll always remember the national anthems and looking to my left and looking at the Brazil team of Neymar, David Luiz, Oscar, Hulk, Marcelo, Dani Alves. It was like I thought I was playing FIFA. Didn't think it was real. So for me, that was definitely probably the highlight of my career.
Amazing. That's fantastic. I mean, it's great that you guys have all, I suppose, represented our country in different levels and across the world as well. Dean, there's just a question that's come through that how long have you been living in England for?
I moved to the UK when I was 5. My family decided to move to the UK. I moved there when I was 5 and lived there for about 20 years. Okay, I've been back here for 5 years, 21 years, lived in the UK. And really, that's really where my football career began. I was involved with Chelsea's academy from the age of 9. And that was my school, my football schooling, so to speak. So I was blessed to be involved with the Chelsea Academy, which is a fantastic academy, and it's grown from strength to strength, obviously, with Roman Abramovich pumping all the money in, not only at first team level, but at youth team level as well. And my age group at the age of 16, when you go full time, was the first age group really of the club starting to spend money on 16-year-olds. So they weren't only spending money on your Didier Drogba's, your Frank Lampard's. They're spending £1 million on a 16-year-old. So the game really changed at the age of 16, and it was really an incredible experience to be involved in.
Amazing. All of you guys have got some of your family that have joined. Dean, you've got your grandfather and your parents. I think your wife's also joined us on the chat, all the way from the UK. Congratulations to you and your wife, expecting a baby soon. Hopefully you get to get back in time. You'll make it happen. And Jomo, your son Bamuza's joined us, and Mart, I think Larry's joined us as well. And there's actually a question here I forgot from the audience, just asking, Mart, your son Larry had a promising professional career. Some might say he should have played in the English Premier League. Why did he retire at such an early age?
You're going to have to ask him that question. Because, it was at a time, and I'm a little bit biased here, but I think, he could have made the Bafana team when Gordon was in charge at the time, and it just didn't happen, sort of thing. So I really don't have the answer, because Larry knows why he retired so early. But he did. He had a fantastic career in South Africa, and it just things just didn't fall in place. And I'm sure, Dean, you know when you not at the right team at the right place, things don't just fall in. I know he joined Jomo when he was about 17, I think it was, Jomo. And it's very difficult as a father and as an ex-player to speak of your son. So maybe, Jomo, you could answer, how did you see Larry when he was 17, 18, 19?
All I can say, he had a bright career, and he did well at Cosmos. He did well. We even tried to ship him to Israel, if you recall.
Yeah.
We tried to get him a trial in Israel, and he went, and everything didn't come true. And then he came back. I think he moved somewhere. I don't know where he moved. I think he moved to Cape Town, and that's where I think he lost interest there because things were not working out for him. It happens in football. The bridge is too small, and there's too many millions that want to go through this bridge. You know, sometimes only the lucky ones go through, not the skillful ones, the talented ones. Sometimes it's all about luck. So I heard that he's retired. He's doing modeling now.
Yeah, listen, you know, also, I think a big disappointment for Larry, he got his Lithuanian passport, and he got picked for the Lithuanian national team, I think when he was 27 years old. And I think the 3 or 4 days before he was going to leave for London, because the game was between Lithuania and England at Wembley. And for some reason, they said that because it was his great-grandmother's represented, that's how we got the passports. He wasn't eligible to play for Lithuania. And it was I think it was a big knock to him, because he was looking so forward to playing it. Jomo, it's, you know, you've gone through a lot of players and made some special players in your time. And you were a special player as well in your time. But you can imagine 3 days to go, and you're going to play at Wembley Stadium against England, and FIFA come up with this letter, which I thought was absolutely ridiculous, because whether it was his mother or grandmother or great-grandmother, it doesn't make a difference. He's still got his Lithuanian passport. So it was a little bit difficult time. And I think that's where Larry lost interest in football.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it's understandable.
Sure. Jomo, what advice have you given to your players and backroom staff for during lockdown and keeping fit?
They must just stay home and keep fit, because we don't know when will the league resume. They might call us anytime and say we're starting in 2 weeks' time. And if they are unfit, it's going to be a big problem, because we can't go to another second preseason training. And players need time. They need close to about 3 full weeks to get fit, because you also lose your fitness. In a week, all your fitness is gone if you're not training. But if 100%. You're doing something, at least you won't lose that fitness.
Yeah, definitely. Dean, as a player, you mentioned your basement where you stay is actually quite big. How are you keeping fit, and what are you as the captain of your side, what are you telling your players to do?
Yeah, it's tough. As Jomo says, it's not easy. I've had a discussion with my friend in the UK, and it's kind of like off season, but off season you've got a date that you're coming back for pre-season. There's an ending in sight. At the moment, we don't know. There's no ending in sight. We don't know if we're going to be back in 2 weeks, in a month. So motivation is hard, and as much as you work by yourself, you will never ever replicate that game, that match fitness, that kind of, you get up, you make a tackle, you jump up for a header, you're on the ball, you dribble, you lose it, you got to make a tackle, and it's much running or work you do. Unfortunately, you'll never be able to replicate that. But I think one thing that we've done, which I would really suggest to anyone who's listening, if it's your mates, if it's your team, what we've done at SuperSport, which has been absolutely fantastic, is we've got a WhatsApp group, and every day there's a challenge. The challenge is a minute long, so it's maximum amount of press ups one day, it's maximum amount of burpees, it's maximum amount of today was 1 minute. How many shuttles can you do in 1 minute over a 10-minute over a 10-meter distance? And it's kept that competitive nature. Everyone's pushing each other. We get a score, we get a leaderboard. Everyone's pushing each other every day. So if anyone's out there, they're in a team, they want to keep pushing, they want to stay competitive, just set yourself little challenges, something that you can time, or that you can that you can count and just go up against each other, because that competitive nature, we're athletes, we're footballers, we want to win, we want to be number one. So that's been so successful, and I'd highly recommend that to anyone on the listening today.
You have
Perfect,
me already.
thank you.
Pardon?
I will join.
Please.
I will join. I'll join with the Cosmos players.
I'd like to see your press ups and your burpees.
Please, not in public.
When I when I asked Martin the other day what he's doing for exercise, he told me he hasn't been bulk shopping. He's been going to the shops every day, walking up and down the aisle. So really got that answer from him. So that's great. Jomo, there was a question here for you, and sorry, it's guys, if you want to post questions, there's a Q&A button at the bottom. Instead of posting it in the chat, it makes it a lot easier for us to be able to follow the questions. Jomo, please tell us the story behind you leaving your wedding to return to the Pirates game, to turn the Pirates game around against Highlands Park when they were 2.
I knew that one will come up.
That's from Julian Turner.
I was expecting it. It had to come up somewhere. No, actually, what happened, I was overseas, and I just finished the season because I moved. I was playing for Toronto Prison, and I was selected to play for a Black 11 against Crystal Palace at the Crystal Palace Stadium. We're playing for Jimmy Cannon's testimonial game, but they said no because they want to break the racial barrier also in England. It was all black team, Vince Hilaire, Viv Anderson, myself. So we played in England. I played in that game. I scored 2 goals, and I had to come back home. I played on Sunday, and then Monday I was flying back home. But my wedding was organized earlier during the season. And in our culture, you cannot postpone the wedding, So when I got back home here, it was on Tuesday, I discovered that for the first time, Highlands Park are going to play Orlando Pirates at the Rand Stadium. And they begged me to play. They say the game is political, blah, blah, blah. I said, I can't change. There were meetings from Tuesday when I arrived until Saturday morning when my grandfather said, no, it can't happen. So I carried on. Africans, we in the morning we go to church, we go and change the suit, we change it to something else. The last attire is an African attire, So we finished around about 3:30. Everything was done. And I asked permission if I could go and listen to the radio because Pirates is playing. And when I got to the radio, it was coincidental that the radio announcer said, Jomo, I hope wherever you are, you're listening or you know the score. So I listened, and it says Highlands Park 2, Orlando Pirates 0. But I could see that there was a problem in the township, that Pirates were losing because there was not even a single person in the street, even a cat you couldn't see. Everybody in the township had vanished. Highlands Park were on top of Pirates. And the guy said, by the time it goes to halftime, it will be 4. The way Highlands Park are dominating Orlando Pirates. So I think the elderly people, because I was sitting in the car waiting for my second day, which is tomorrow at my home, they came to the car and said, would you like to go and play? I'm a footballer. If you say there's a ball there, I'll go and play. It took me 5 minutes to get to Rand Stadium. I think I arrived there 3 minutes before halftime. And it was an unbelievable occasion. I took the field second half. I scored 2. I created 2, and the rest is history.
Amazing.
So you guys will notice that there's a poll on the screen. We're going to leave that open for the next couple of seconds. Sorry, Jomo. Just to let everybody know, we've seeing a lot of votes coming through. So just get voting. We'll leave it open for another 5 seconds. About half of you have voted. Interesting results.
So
There's the
Jomo's
results.
frozen on my side. Yeah?
Great.
I'm not appearing as well.
No, no, no. We can hear you, Jomo. So
There must be a lot of my family on this group. This SuperSport.
there's plenty. There's plenty. Eh? All right. So sorry, Jomo. Can you still hear us?
Yeah, I'm back now.
Ah, there we go. We've got you back. We've got you back. Excellent. Sorry, had you finished your story? We lost you for a little second there.
Yeah, I said the rest was history. You know, we beat Highlands Park. Yeah, we beat Highlands Park 4-2. Sorry, Martin.
Fantastic. Mark, were you playing that?
Okay. Yeah, listen. I have to tell you another true story about Jomo, because for me, Jomo was the best player that came out of South Africa. They talked about Ace, they talked about other players, but I'm telling you now, and I had a wonderful experience. We played New York Cosmos in the Giant Stadium one afternoon in July of '77. There were 77,000 people watching, and Americans know how to put bums on seats. So they announced the Los Angeles Aztecs teams one by one, and we had some unbelievable players: Charlie Cook from Chelsea, Phil Beale from Tottenham, Terry Mancini from Arsenal, and the great George Best from Manchester United. So they announce you one by one. And then, so we were standing on the field, and they start announcing the Cosmos team. And it's Franz Beckenbauer, number 5 for New York Cosmos, captain of Germany, and blah, 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 blah. They go through the whole team: number 10, Pelé, Brazilian international, da-da-da-da. Jomo was and Pelé got an unbelievable ovation. Jomo was 22, and he was the last player that came onto the field. And they said, "This is Jomo Sono, midfield player from South Africa." He got a bigger ovation than Pelé. The sad part about it is that I think you left the next season because you were getting bigger ovations than Pelé. Am I right, Jomo?
Yeah. I had to leave.
But, yeah, you had to leave. But in all fairness, guys, whoever's listening, and this is just my opinion. I've played with Jomo. I played against Jomo many times. He was a midfield player. I was a midfield player. I could never get the ball from him. I would be chasing shadows. And as I said, in my opinion, of all-round players, Jomo is the best player that came out of South Africa.
Thank you very much, Martin.
No, it's the truth. You know,
I'm very humble. I've got few 6 stars behind me, which you gave me one when we played against you.
Yeah.
That was the only way you could catch me, was to kick me.
Absolutely. But in all fairness, Jomo, I think I went one time over the ball to someone, and I'm not going to mention the name, because I knew he was going to go over the ball to me, so I went higher. But I think, in all fairness, I was a hard tackler, but a fair tackler.
Yep.
I don't think
you were the hardest player I've played against all my career. They've all tried, but you were very, very difficult to play against. Maybe because you knew all the Soweto styles. You are from South Africa. You know, when we played Los Angeles, you took me out of the game. You know, and I believe it was the first time people in America couldn't believe that I've been taken out of the game. But, you know, you're South African, you knew what I was going to do in advance. You just stole the ball from me. But we had some good times. We
did. We certainly did.
Dean, for all players that are on the verge of making it as a professional, how important is it to be mentally strong, and how should they remain motivated? What advice would you give them, especially considering where we are now in lockdown and people trying to take the next step and get to the next level?
One of the things I've seen throughout my career is I've seen far better players than me fall by the wayside because mentally they were weak. What people don't quite realize is how the highs and lows of being an athlete. I mean, my wife will tell you, my family will tell you, we lose on a Saturday and I've not had a good game. I'm miserable for 2 or 3 days. But it's also, there's so many setbacks. At the age of 18, all I knew was Chelsea. I'd been in Chelsea from the age of 9 to 18. All of a sudden, Chelsea said to me, you're finished, you're released. We're not giving you a new contract. And that was my first real setback in life. And no one tells you how to deal with a setback. All of a sudden, you think you're the next superstar, and now you've got someone telling you, well, unfortunately, you're not. And I think what I've seen against some of the best players that I've played against and with is not only are they technically very good and they're good on the ball and they're good at what they do, but mentally they are so strong. They're able to deal with the setbacks, with the fans giving them abuse, because that's something you've got to deal with social media abuse, because that is huge in the game. And if you're not mentally strong, unfortunately, at the top end, you're not going to make it. You're going to fall by the wayside. So the best players have both. They have the mentality and they have the attributes to be a top footballer. And I can't stress enough how important it is, that mental side of the game. You've got to be able to deal with setbacks. And I think the one thing that I've learned throughout my career is don't get too high with the good times and don't get too low with the bad times. Try and stay level in the middle somewhere. A perfect example is with Bafana. We lost to Senegal in the World Cup qualifiers, and we all slammed, we're useless, we're this, we're that. A few months later, we went to play Nigeria. In Nigeria, we beat them, and all of a sudden, we're superstars. We're brilliant. And when I actually look at the two games, we probably played better against Senegal than we did against Nigeria. So you've got to be able to balance your emotions and try not to get too high or too low, because if you fluctuate between, you're going to be all over the place. So kind of so important to stay grounded, to stay level-headed, and to stay mentally strong.
Jomo, you probably one of the best at developing football in the country. You've developed plenty of players and created their careers for them. What advice do you have for players?
You know, exactly what Dina said, and I said it before, that the bridge is too narrow. And there's millions and millions of players who want to be the Furman of tomorrow, the Dr. Kumalos of this tomorrow, the Martin Cohen of tomorrow. But it's about the mental and the hard work. You have just to tell yourself that I have to be strong mentally and also be prepared to work hard. That's it. There's no secret to success. You have to work hard. Even in business, we work hard. Even in school, you study hard to pass. So nothing comes easy. Even if you're the most skillful player I have seen in this country, especially black players who have got so much skill, but because their mental attitude is not right. I can give you one name. If you look at Zongo, Zongo should be one of the best players in this country.
Coach, can I just interrupt? Sorry, before you carry on, Ronwen Williams tells me about Zongo every day, and he says he's the most incredible player he's ever seen.
He's unreal.
Yeah,
he's unreal. But the head is not right. If somebody can fix the head, maybe needs a hammer on the head, then you'll be okay. But that kid can play. That kid can play. He's a complete footballer, but he's got an attitude that he believes he's the best. So I always tell my players, work hard, and hard, and that's it. Then you'll make it in football. All of us, even Martin can tell you, we used to train like horses. I used to train 3 times a day, even though I knew I had all the skill in the world. I used to go and watch Highlands Pub train and there was an old man there called Joe Frickleton. He used to run them like July. They're going for a July handicap. They used to run. Martin can tell you. But the footballers now, they are so lazy. They don't want to work hard.
Jomo, if I can just butt in there, and I think Dean and Jomo, I think you're 100% right in the sense that and I don't want to sound like an old fart, so to speak, but when we were playing football, it was semi-professional. So we would work in the day and stand on our feet and serve customers and stuff like that, and train at night. And Jomo wasn't wrong. Joe Frickleton was the Ferguson of South Africa. He knew how to win. There was never a time where in the change rooms he would come and give us a team talk and say, listen, if we go 1-0 down, this is what we're going to do. His team talk was very basic. And he was a man motivator in a sense that he knew how Jomo thought, he knew how Dean thought, he knew how I thought, and he would react differently to different players. Because, and that's what I learned from Joe, that if you, and I think you'll agree with me, Jomo and Dean, that if there's a squad of 25 players, not all 25 players think the same. So sometimes you've got to put your arm around one player and talk to him nicely. Sometimes you've got to belittle another player in the change room just before you go on to play a game to make him feel, listen, I'll show you the coach. You talk to me like that. So you know, we used to work in the day and train at night, and we were never tired of training. The best time for me, Jomo, and I'm sure for you, was when you stopped working at 5:30 in the afternoon and you went down to training and you started training at 6 o'clock. You were never tired. And I was a late developer. So the likes of Larry De Freitas and Ricky Flynn and Des Backus made the first team at 16 years old. I only made the first team when I was 19. But, you know, there was a passion. And the best time for me was when I closed up the shop and I was going to training. I was never tired. Now you see, and in what I was going to say, when Frickleton started playing me, he would put me on for 20 minutes of the last 20 minutes of the game, or take me off in the last 20 minutes. When Frickleton called me off, I went deaf. I didn't hear him. I didn't want to come off. Today's footballers, and no disrespect to today's footballers, there's a very different attitude, and rightly so, because they're full-time professionals. But I just feel that they don't wear their heart on their sleeve. And Dean, you would know better than I would. Jomo, you would know too, because you own Cosmos and you train every day with them. But let me ask you the question. What is the attitude of the players today to when we were playing, Jomo? Is there a different attitude?
Yeah, I think there is. There is a different attitude, because there's a lot of extra things which the players can do, you know, compared to us.
Yeah.
With us, you were working at the shop, I was selling apples and peanuts in the train. And at 5 o'clock, when I stopped selling, I go straight to train. We didn't have much. They've got, now they've got games, they've got cell phones. You find a professional player having 3 cell phones. And then you ask him, you have 3 cell phones, but you don't have a business. You don't know why he's got 3 cell phones.
Yeah.
You know, there's so much that the players can do, which we can't blame them. These are times.
Yeah.
But I think it's up to us, the coaches, you know, to put a stamp on them and say, look, with this kind of life, it will end quickly, and you will have no go. And you must, you know, there's always examples in life. You always tell them, look at this player, look at this player, look at this player. Not only South Africa. I mean, you can go as far as Brazil. You can show them about Garrincha a little bit. You know, he died being destitute. So I always make example and say, enjoy it, because when you stop, you don't want to regret. You don't regret. You've played to the fullest. I don't regret. If even though, you know, Dean, we were earning 200 rands per month.
Yeah. Sorry, I was earning 120, eh?
I was earning 200. I was better. I was better than you.
Yeah. But just to finish off here, I was lucky enough. We played a game in Durban on one Sunday afternoon, and on the plane coming back, I sat next to Willie McIntosh, who was a fantastic left winger, and he just said to me, "Listen, son, you got to play as long as you can, because if you stop, you can't go back." And that was some really good advice that he was already in his latter part of, I think he played with us for another 2 seasons and then retired. And it was very good advice that he gave me, to say, listen, you carry on as long as you can, because the time goes so quickly. And Dean, I'm sure you know that as well.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so Jomo, I mean, there's a lot of questions coming through here, guys. So just quickly, while we've got a gap, because the conversation's it's going well, and there's a lot of questions coming through. So if anyone wants to ask a question live, raise your hand. At the bottom, there's a reaction button. You can just raise your hand, and we'll promote you to the panel to ask your question live. Dean, there's a question here from your dad. Wants you to tell us about the last game of the season at Brentford when you won promotion to the Championship.
Yeah, so it was absolutely incredible, and it gives me goosebumps every time I see this. So I was at Doncaster. We were second in the league, and Brentford were third in the league, and top 2 went up automatically. Bournemouth, who were top, they were playing away, and basically we needed a draw. If Brentford won, if Brentford won, they got promoted. If we drew, we got promoted. And the game went perfectly for us, 0-0. Not too much happened. I think they might have hit the post. We came close a couple of times. Also, a bit more context, we had won 14 games away from home that season. They had won 14 games at home that season. So they were the best at home, we were the best away. So it was like the perfect clash. Anyway, 95th minute, they launched the ball into our box, penalty. Heart sank. It would have meant if they scored the penalty, we would have gone into the playoffs. And generally, the team who falls into the playoffs they can't lift themselves. It's normally the team that sneaks in and that's on a good run of form that goes on and wins the playoffs. So we were thinking, oh my goodness, it's 3 more weeks of the season. It's back to training on Monday morning, nightmare. Anyway, the penalty taker was a guy on loan from Fulham, an Italian guy called Liam Trotter. Runs up to the penalty, spanks it down the middle, hits the crossbar. There's a melee in the box. We scramble it clear. Our striker is on the halfway line with his head in his hands like that, because he obviously thinks they're going to score. He stands up, the ball's at his feet on the halfway line. All their defenders were up, ready to celebrate getting promoted. Meanwhile, the ball breaks to our team. We run up the other end, square it, goal. We got promoted. We won the league. So it was the most incredible moment that I've ever been involved in a single football match.
That's fantastic, eh? Brilliant.
Fantastic.
Mart, there's a question from Dean's family, actually, in South Africa, the Recusans. Do you think Spurs will win the league this year? Come on, you Spurs. I'm a Spurs.
Listen. I have a friend in Cape Town called Jeff Cohen and myself. We watch Spurs to get aggravated. You know, they changed managers, and I think Mourinho is a winner. I think he knows how to win, and he just needs some time. And unfortunately, in today's football in England, managers don't get time as they used to in the olden days, so to speak. And Pochettino didn't. He might have been the nicest person on this planet, but what did he win? 0. Winning becomes a habit. Losing becomes a habit. So I think I'm hoping, you know, that soccer gets back into the swing of things, and they can start playing. Hopefully, middle of May. Hopefully, the end of May, beginning of June, because Mourinho really needs to get some players out of that Spurs camp and get his own players what he feels. Because Jomo, I'm sure you know as a manager as well, you look at a player completely different to someone else. And
yeah, all coaches are different.
Yeah, all coaches are different. So Mourinho has got left with players that Pochettino wanted at the time. He's now got to get rid of those players and get his players that he wants to do the work for. And football today is a business. As you said, we played with passion. We played for very little money.
So Mark, sorry, just to jump in there quickly. I mean, there's another question here that's come through that really relates to that, and I think Jomo spoke about it just now. About you spoke about lazy players, and this is a question from Patrick Tima. Is it the money? Because you get guys like Ronaldo and Dean, they work hard. So
yeah,
where does the laziness come from?
If I can just answer that quickly from my point of view, Jomo, and I don't think in your day or in my day, I ever saw a player ask the manager to come off. In today's modern football, there are certain players that they get a little bit of a knock and they say to the manager, "Excuse me, I want to come off. I'm injured." You know, the mentality of players today is completely different to players of yesteryear. If you look at footage of the 60s and 70s, whether it's been in England, whether it's been in Brazil, wherever it is, and you look at, let's take England for argument's sake, and you look at today's football in England, it's like they've been playing in the 60s and 70s, it was like at a walking pace. The game today is so quick. Players have to be quick. They have to be proper athletes. It's really a different kettle of fish. And players, a lot of players don't wear their heart on their sleeve. That they're there, they're earning £300,000-400,000 a week. And if they play, they play. If they don't play, they don't play. And that's just my opinion. I don't say I'm right or I'm wrong, but I think in today's game, even I watched the Highlands Park SuperSport final in November last year, I think it was, and the game is a lot quicker than we played. Dean, I don't know if you want to comment on that.
Yeah, I think the game's constantly evolving. One thing for me that when we're looking at older players and the heart on the sleeve theory, I do believe a lot comes very easily nowadays.
Yeah.
I mean, we're in an era of social media gratification. You do a shibobo, and all of a sudden now it's all over Twitter and Instagram, and even the MDCs on SuperSport, and they make a wonderful program. But like you used to get on TV, it was like, oh my goodness, right, tonight we're on TV. Now the MDC's on TV, so we're almost making superstars before they've even done anything. And I mean, you guys spoke about your salaries. When I was 16, I was on £80 a week. Just about covered me to get to training and back. And you had to work to become a footballer. I wasn't given anything. Now guys play 5-10 games in the PSL. Nike's after them, Adidas after them, all the perks. And don't get me wrong, I understand the business model, and few of these players will go on to be superstars, and they get snapped up early from these major corporations. But I do feel that we're in an era of instant gratification, and things come easy. So when there's a setback, people don't know how to deal with it. And all of a sudden, you've gone from earning nothing to earning a nice salary very, very quickly. And I think that causes problems. And for me, one of the things that has stuck with me my whole career, I was lucky to be at Chelsea, and I went full-time there for 2 years. And we got to train with the first team on occasion. And sometimes we would come over and they were still training. And my hero was Frank Lampard. And I watched at the end of training, some guys were going in, some guys were going for lunch, some guys were already in their car going home. And I looked over into the corner of the pitch, and Frank Lampard was by himself, not with a coach, he was by himself. He had 5 or 6 cones and he was doing shuttle runs.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, I'm a 17-year-old. I'm watching Frank Lampard, who is one of the best midfielders in the world currently, or at the time, and he's trying to get better. He's working on his speed. He's working on his turning. He wants to get better. Who am I to say I've done enough? Yeah. And that was something that stuck with me my whole career, because that grit and determination of one of the best players in the world is something that we need as lesser players. And unfortunately, I just feel that today's instant gratification kind of sucks that out of players, and things just come a little bit too easy for my liking.
Yeah, I think if I can just butt in, I think if you're 100% right. I feel the same way, that we had it in our day. There were players that made it at 16, 17, and it came easy to them. And they didn't get better as they got older. And, you know, it brings me back to a story when Cantona played at Man United. And Beckham and Scholes and those 6 players, the Neville brothers and Butt and them, they were at training, as you said, and they all walked in, and Cantona was still out there training for another half an hour, practicing whatever he was practicing. And these were young players, 18, 19 years old. And they said, listen, he's a French international. If he's doing that, I think we should be doing that as well. And it's always determination that you have. It's all very well, and I think you're born with certain skills. But for me, Jomo, I think you would agree with this, that you've got to put in the hard work. If you don't put in the hard work, you can have all the ability in the world, you will get found out, and you will go backwards rather than forwards.
Yeah, that's true. I think both of you guys have summed it up very well. Yeah. It boils down to hard work, and that's it.
That's it. You know, whether you're playing in the 60s and 70s and 80s or playing, and now there's nothing like hard work didn't harm anybody. It only improved, and you see it in other sports as well. It's not only in soccer. You see it in all other sports where the top sportsmen. I'll give you tennis for argument's sake. The non-sporting people understand that tennis players go on the court for 5 hours a day and play one shot for a half an hour, a cross court or whatever it may be. They don't see that. They just see the finished product. They don't see the hard work that players have been put through and stuff like that. And as I said to you, Dean, that, you know, you've been successful because of your attitude, and you had ability. You know, I think you're born, if you're born with ability, you're born with ability. Some people aren't born with ability. And as much hard work they can do, they're never going to make it. You do have to have a little bit of luck. Jomo, you being a coach and a midfield player, I guarantee you the first players that you look for are midfield players, because you were a midfield player yourself. And, you know, it's also, I think, in a sense that if you're in the right place at the right time and you get a break, but once you get the break, it's up to that player in all sports to make themselves or prove themselves that they can be the best that they can be.
Definitely. Guys, we've got 3 questions from the audience. Faisal, I'm going to allow you to talk. Faisal, are you there?
I'm here.
There we go. Excellent. Do you want to ask your question to the panel? Welcome.
I forgot, but let me try see what were the questions. My first question was to Jomo. What needs to be done to improve the national team Bafana?
Achoo.
And my second question is to Martin. Why was there no interest from you to get involved in football after playing days, like giving back the knowledge you gained playing overseas and all?
Okay. I'll let Jomo answer that one first, and then I'll come back to you.
Why don't we do it vice versa? Because
okay.
I never like to talk about. He's doing it purposely, you see. He knows that you don't like to talk about.
Okay,
So you start, Martin. Let me think about it.
I'll answer that. You know, in South Africa, we were semi-professional in South Africa, and in 1976, at the end of the year, scouts came over, and because America weren't affiliated with FIFA, we could move to America with no transfer fees, which I did, and Jomo did, and Steve Wigley did, and a few other players, Ace Tselengwe did, Des Backus did. And when I came back, I had a business, and as I said, we were semi-professional, so we worked in the day and we trained at night. So my dad, unfortunately, died when I was 21, and I took over his one store, Jack's Paints and Hardware, in Orange Grove. So I worked there, and I brought in a partner, and I went to America for 2 years and came back and went back into the Jack's Paints and Hardware business, and started franchising. And that's the reason why I didn't really get back into football, because I had a business that was taking, I used to leave at 6 in the morning and come back at 8 o'clock at night. So it was very time consuming. There was a business that I had to work at. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I would have loved to come to do some stuff, which I'm talking to Jeff Cohen in Cape Town here, that I might just go and do some stuff at the school sort of thing, because I'm now retired and I've got time on my hands. So now it's the time for me to give back.
Brilliant. You're still waiting for my...
We're still waiting.
Okay. No, I think if you look at the history of Bafana, you know, in 1996, I was the technical director and advisor to the coach. We had 98% of the players were playing overseas when we won the Africa Cup of Nations. In 1998, when I took over in Burkina Faso, 90% of the players were playing overseas. When I took over and we played for the World Cup in 2003, we won the warm-up tournament when we beat Switzerland and Turkey to win the cup, and then we went to the World Cup after winning the warm-up tournament. We played 2-2 first game. We beat Slovenia 1-0, and we lost to Spain 3-2, which is still a nightmare for me as a coach. We had 90 players playing in Europe. If you recall, 2 of the players who were selected in the World 11 were 2 central midfielders of Bafana. They were playing overseas. They played in the European Cup, both of them. Mark Sivaya and Tebucho Mokoena, playing for St. Gallen and Kazan in Russia. And then all of a sudden, the players, most of them decided to come back home. Exactly what Dean was saying. They decided to come back home. And whether we like it or not, we have to start exporting players at a very early age, like Dean has got. When he's playing, when Dean is playing, I'm not saying this because he's here. I'm straightforward. He's different to all the players playing in the field of play, because you can see that his upbringing, he's not from here. They get the best coaches, and they're being coached by the best coaches in the world when they're overseas. Now we're struggling a bit. We are struggling a bit. You know, there's maybe 4 or 5 players who can help us. I mean, the players who are playing now, mainly with due respect, our local players. It's not the same. It's not the same. If you go back, you need that overseas experience. You need to spend time at Chelsea. You need to spend time at Chelsea, even if it's development. You need all that. So for us to get back to the 96, 98, 2003, we need to start exporting players at the early age, you know, and when they come back with a different mentality. You can see Dean, his mentality when he speaks, you can see that the upbringing is proper. It's proper. So that's the problem for now. We need to export players from this country, Pamuzi.
Right.
I don't talk about coaches. Don't lead me to coaches. I don't talk about coaches.
We'll leave you off the hook for now. Someone else might answer that question. Ask you that question just now. Julian Turner. Let's see. Julian, can you hear us? You got your hand up?
Yes.
There we go. Julian, you're on the panel.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Great. How's it, guys? Jomo, great to see you again. You remember me?
Hey, Julie. How you doing, man? Okay, brother.
Good. Well, I've got a question for actually just a quick one for both you and Martin. In 1973, there was a side from the UK that came out to South Africa called the UK All-Stars. Martin played against them for the white SA11. But Jomo, I think you were still too young to have played for the black 11. I speak under correction. If you didn't play for them, were you in the crowd that day at Orlando Stadium? Martin, you beat the British All-Stars 2-1, and the black 11, if I remember correctly, lost 3-2 against them. Let's start with Jomo quickly.
Fortunately, I was playing in that game.
You played in that game, Jomo. Excellent.
I played in that game with the guy who scored the 2 goals was Lucas Masterpieces Muripe.
Right.
And Kaiser was also playing. I was the youngest of the lot. I played against the British All-Stars at Orlando Stadium. Sugar Ray, Kulu, all the top names, Ace were all playing in that game. And then they went to, after the white beat them 2-1, they came to Orlando. We lost 3-2.
That's right. And you played, if I remember correctly, in green jerseys, and the All-Stars played in red.
Yeah. Yes.
Martin?
Yeah. How's it, Jules?
How's it, Martin? My best mate, Martin Cohen.
Jules, what do you want me to answer?
Just quickly, your thoughts from that day when you beat the All-Stars, British All-Stars 2-1. There was an incident where one of the players stormed off the field because you humiliated them.
Yeah, it was Rodney Marsh. He threw his jersey off and he walked off the pitch. You know, we were down to lose the game because, I mean, there was some fantastic players playing in that team at that time, and they didn't come into this country as a team. They came in as individuals on different days, and they formed a side behind closed doors.
That's right. It was the rebel team.
Yes, but if I can give you a little bit of humor here, at the time we had Mario Twani coaching at Highlands Park, and Mario was from Chile and he couldn't speak English properly, and so Henny Jabir, Brian Hogan, and myself were in the team from Highlands Park players who made the team, and really we played well on the day, and I think we deserved to win 2-1. So so Mario Twani comes in on the Monday night, and in his Chilean accent, we all sitting down, and he says, "Jabir, I like speak to you." So Henny Jabir says, "Yes, mister." We had to call him mister. If you didn't call him anything, if you called him Mr. Twani or Mario, he would give you a smack. So you had to call him mister. And so Henny Jabir, being as Henny Jabir, he said, "Mister, you know," he said to Henny, "Jabir, you think you played good on Saturday?" He said, "Well, mister, I think we played well. We were down to lose 5-0. We won 2-1. And I think we did well." He said, for me, you played the big shit. So Henny being diplomatic, he said, Mister, I'm not sure what you mean. And he always told a story. He said, Jabir, tell me, it's possibly you eat the banana under the water? And he said, but mister, I'm not understanding what you're saying. He said, tell me, Jabir, you have 2 orange, 1 hand. It's not possibly you hold 2 orange, 1 hand. Why are you 1 player and you want to mark 2? So in Twani's eyes, Jabir played a bad game because he was so enthusiastic about it. He wanted to mark 2 players against 1 player sort of thing. But it was a fantastic Saturday afternoon. You know, it was a hot Saturday afternoon. I think it was in July. So, you know, we were very fortunate to beat the UK Stars, and I think deservedly so. We won the game.
Thank you, Martin.
Thanks, Julian. All right, guys, just to quickly, while we've got everyone on, there's 3 more questions, 3 more people have got their hands up. Just to let you know that the next session and next Legends chat that we're hosting is going to be on Monday at 4 o'clock with Gavin Hunt, Janine van Wyk, and Brian Beloy. So join us for that. The link on there is actually incorrect, but it's a similar link as today. It's brt.ly/DSP Legends Chat 2. Should be a 2 at the end there. You will see it on the right-hand side of the screen. The poster does have the incorrect one. So yeah, looking forward to seeing you all on that. We have now Patrick Tsima as wants to ask a question. Let's see.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, Patrick, we can hear you.
Yes, my name is Patrick Zima. How's it, guys? Lovely panel you've got in there. I just have a question. Dr. Jomo speaks of lazy players of today as in comparison to what they used to do in the past when they were playing. And Captain Dean speaks about the pace of the game being different and the social media effect to how players perform and see their contribution into the game today. And we obviously have a testimony, or we have a proof to say we have very few players that we're exporting from South Africa to Europe, for example, or to foreign leagues for us to can actually count on in terms of our development. So the question that I'm asking and I'm wondering is it not from us as coaches and clubs and development technicians that we maybe must be missing something in terms of how we develop these players and what we teach them in terms of what's important for in their life of footballers and how they apply themselves and how they carry themselves and footballers and what wearing that SuperSport or Orlando Pirates and Jomo Cosmos jersey means in terms of the paying supporters that come to the stadiums every now and then. I mean, somebody speaks about the improvement of Bafana. I wouldn't think Bafana will improve unless our clubs and our players are improving themselves. And maybe just linking to that, in closing, why Dr. Jomo are we stuck with lazy players when we have such a pool of talented and promising players in South Africa in development academies that we can maybe possibly look into those and chop off the lazy players? Thank you.
Dean, you start.
Dean.
Yeah,
start with the young one.
Patrick, thanks for your question. I'll touch on maybe a little bit of why players aren't going abroad as much as maybe they used to. I think what we're seeing now in the PSL is we've got a fantastic product. We've got a good league. There's some good money to be made in this league. And you can live a nice lifestyle. You're a bit of a celebrity. You're kind of invited to the nice things. You're on TV all the time. It's
the DSP panel.
Exactly. So I think that desire to go and make it abroad is not always there because we have a good package here with the PSL. You do get the players who are desperate to go, and I try and encourage them so much because for me, you can always come back. I don't want to mention names, but let's just take Percy, for example. If Percy really is homesick, he could come back next season comfortably. Anyone would take him. And that's what I try and say to the players. Go, broaden your horizons. Try see what happens. Maybe you'll do a Bongani Zungu who's going from club to club and he's flourishing in Europe. So from my experience, I try and encourage the guys to take that opportunity, take a little bit of a risk. It might mean that for your next contract, the salary's not that great, but if you go and produce, if you go and perform and you go and show your ability, then it's the next move is going to be bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's what I try and encourage the guys to do. Go and take that risk, take that opportunity, because you can always come back. There'll always be a club for you back home, and home is always home. You can always come home. So I try and encourage the guys, especially at SuperSport, some of the younger guys, if that's their dream to go and play in Europe, to go and flourish in the European leagues, that go and give it their best shot, because you can always come home.
Brilliant.
Cool. Jomo, you want to add anything?
No, I think Dean has summed it up very well.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Guys, just a question for all of you, and I don't know where you want to start, but do you think social distancing will become the new normal, and what effect do you think it'll have in contact sports like soccer in the future?
Let me answer that by saying, there's esports now, and all other games that are played. And I'm too old to do this, but Larry's involved in he's got a team called 11s on esports, and at this present moment they're second in the world. And he was trying to tell me and explain to me how this works, where it's all on the television, and there's competitions all over the world, and I think this is one thing where the young people today, Dean touched on it as well, and Jomo touched on it, where the players have got 3 cell phones now. They're in the media, they're on Twitter and Facebook and all those type of things. And I think the world is changing, in my humble opinion, and we're never going to go back. We're only going to go forward. And I think technology and esports, like Larry's involved in, is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. Having said that, for me, there's nothing like the real thing. I think I'm just hoping that football and all other sports can get back to a norm of what we were used to in that situation.
Right. Dean?
Yeah, it's very difficult to. I think it's the $1 million question. I think the question all over now is how we're going to go back to what it was before. And if you look at football, it's contact, and that's the very opposite of what social distancing is. So we have to get to a position where we're comfortable to have contact, because when we're having contact, we're swapping. I mean, we're all sweating, bodily fluids are swapping, and it's unavoidable. So we have to get to a position where we're comfortable, that we have the virus under control, that we hopefully no one on the field is infected, and then we can go and play the game that we all love. Yeah. So I think it's going to be difficult to get to that stage, but we are seeing signs of recovery. I've just seen before we came on the panel that Germany have announced their season's going to start again on the 9th or 10th of May. So the European leagues are starting to try and reopen the club's training and the league. So I really hope that in the coming weeks and months that we'll be seeing things happen again. We'll be seeing progression. We'll be seeing people go back to some sort of normality. But for football, the social distancing just can't happen. It's especially for someone like me who loves to tackle. It's not possible. So I really, really hope that in the coming weeks and months, the virus will be under control and we'll be able to get back to doing what we all love.
Excellent. Jomo, anything else to add to that?
No, I don't think this virus will stop football. I mean, this thing will only be around for some time, and the scientists will get a cure, and then we're back to normal. Very soon we'll be back to normal.
We all hope so. We all hope so.
Yeah.
Shakes Rampedi, you've got a question for the panel.
Yes, I do. Can you guys hear me?
Perfectly.
Awesome stuff. So I'm a huge fan of football. I love football. Was all my life. My father talks about Jomo Sono all the time, by the way. So I'm 28 years old, and I want to ask Jomo Sono and Martin Cohen a question. It's a simple question. I think I'm 28 years old. I still got another 50 years to live. We were once ranked in the world 16th or 18th, around there, once upon a time, Bafana. Will we ever get back there? And if the answer is yes, will I be alive to see it? That's question number one. And then for Dean Furman, quick one. Are there players in the PSL that you think would make it in England? If so, can you give us 3, please?
Okay.
Well, Jomo, I think maybe you're more qualified than I am at this present moment.
Okay.
On answering that. So do you want to go?
Yeah, I can answer that one. Before you pass on, Bafana will go back to that position. Don't worry.
How do you know? You and I aren't going to be here, though.
I know. That's what I'm saying. You know, if it doesn't happen, you won't blame me. I'll be long gone.
I tell you what. Listen,
Did you answer? Did?
Yes.
3 players from the PSL that could make it in England. Dean Furman and?
Yeah. So I'll just stick with SuperSport. I'm going to stick to my club, and I'm going to go for 2 players currently because we've got two outstanding young talents who have so much ability, and they're working hard on their games. Unfortunately, Shakes, what you might not realise is that players from South Africa can't actually get into England because of visa issues, and Bafana has to be in the top 50 in the world, and there's quite a few things. But there are routes, like Percy's doing at the moment, playing out in Belgium. So he'll have to be there, I think, for another season before he can play in England. But the answer to your question, I'm going to give you 2 names, and they are actually my part of the midfield trio that I play with in SuperSport, and that's Teboho Mokoena and Sipho Mbule. Teboho is an all-round midfielder. He's box to box. He can get stuck in. He scores goals. He's got assists. Physically, he's a good height. He runs well. And his attitude is fantastic. He practices. He works on his game. He works on his free kicks, on his shooting, on his passing. And he has big dreams. So I really think Teboho, as the all-round package, he could definitely be one who could go and do big things in Europe. Sipho Mbule, who is one of, I think, their best mates, pretty much, Teboho and Sipho, and they're really competing with one another. Sipho undoubtedly is one of the most naturally gifted players I've ever seen. I mean, I'm just so happy that he's on my team that I don't have to chase him around, because you just cannot, probably like Martin said about Jomo, you cannot get the ball off Sipho Mbule. He's got this skill that he does with this, rolls the ball, I don't know where he's going. Ability-wise, unquestionable. If he can maintain a high level of attitude, then he's got a huge future ahead of him. So those are 2 names that I certainly believe can go on to big careers in Europe.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay, Clive Bedell, you've got a question.
Hello, guys.
Hi.
Hi.
Martin, how are you all? All good.
Good.
Excellent panel today. If you don't mind, I'll shoot off 1 or 2 questions and you guys can answer if it's okay. Firstly, do you guys think that there's enough being put into grassroots level football here in South Africa? I personally don't. That's number 1. Dean, on your side, after this break, you know, let's say you guys start playing league again in 2 months' time. Do you reckon you guys will be match fit? I mean, you're all training at home in your gyms and whatever. Will you guys have time to to have a friendly or two. I doubt it, because you've got to get fixtures into, obviously as quick as possible. So will you guys be as fit? And Jomo, I know you wanted to avoid it, but don't you think part of our problem in this country, yes, we've got some good coaches, but generally, I think that's what we're lacking. And once again, if money was put into coaching courses and whatever, I'm sure that could improve our football locally. That's
okay.
it.
Yep. Jomo, you want to answer that? Because I think you're more qualified than I am. I'm sort
Yeah,
of a little away from
I think if SAFA can put a lot of money into developing coaches, coaches at the highest level, not to have the same courses every year is the same course. I think they should bring different countries, like bring coaches from England, France, Italy, to coach the coaches who are in the Premier League and in their development. And they must stay for quite some time, close to about 2 weeks, 3 weeks, because it's not good that the coach comes today, tomorrow is gone. Well, what are you going to learn as a coach? Nothing, because at the end of the day, you're going to stay. You have to carry on your own. So I think if they can put more money into the coaches and more money into development, because if you look now, there's 1,000,001 fly-by-nights academies. All over there's academies. You go around the corner, there's an academy. And when you look at the person who's training the kids, the guy has never kicked a ball before. And now the kids, even at school, they should put more money into the schools' soccer and take good coaches to go and coach the schools, because the teachers, they end up coaching the kids. So they learn bad habits from school, from development. By the time he gets into SuperSport first team, there's a lot of work for a coach to do on that player, because how many players now in the world, in South Africa, who get promoted at the age of 16 and 15? You never hear it anymore. So I think by the time they get because to be a professional, really professional, at the age of 19, you should be ready. At the age of 19, you should be ready to be a professional. Not fully baked professional, but you should be a professional. But now we get professionals who come in on board at the age of 25, 26, 27. It's too late. So I think there's a lot. Yeah.
One of the questions from Shakes, please ask Jonah, at what age does he feel it's too late to go professional?
What age?
At what age do you feel it's too late to become a professional?
I think 24, 25.
Yeah.
24, 25 is too late. By the time he's 28, he's on his way out.
Jomo, if
He's
I
got
can
a little
just
smirk on his face.
if I can just butt in there, Jomo. Dean, you might not have remembered him, but there was a coach called Jimmy Williams, and he coached Highlands. Yes, he coached Highlands Park to the '66 Highlands Park side, where they won 3 out of 4 trophies in the league. And he used to coach the Cubs League, the first under 12 league that came about when we were under 12s, because there was only club soccer from under 14, under 16, and youth team. And our year was the first time that it was under 12s. And so we used to train on a Tuesday and a Thursday, and he picked 4 players, and I was lucky enough to be in the 4 players. He coached us privately on a Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and he built a wooden structure like a wall, which was about 1 meter high, and he would make you pass the ball, control with the left foot, pass it with the left foot, control with the right foot, pass it with the right foot, and it was so boring. And we used to say to him, Mr. Williams, this is so boring. Can't we do something else? And his answer to that was, I can get you fit in 6 weeks. I can't get you comfortable on the ball in 6 weeks. So by doing that, one of the other players who also made it with me was Larry De Freitas. And we used to train 5 days a week as 12-year-olds, and it was so boring, but it paid us good. It was good in long-term situations because we became comfortable on the ball. And I don't think that's happening today. I think you're 100% right. I think in today's soccer, the league and the National Football Association should be getting professional coaches, as you said, from overseas to stay longer than 2-3 weeks, because they need to stay for maybe a season and go to different clubs, because you lose sight. As I said, winning becomes a habit and losing becomes a habit. Good coaching becomes a habit and bad coaching becomes a habit. So we need to learn from countries that are more progressive than we are in getting players to turn professional at 17, 18 years old. And I think you're 100%. By the time you're 25, no clubs are looking for a 25-year-old. They're looking for a 17-year-old that they can sign.
Perfect.
Okay.
Guys, sorry, there's still quite a few questions and we're not going to have a chance to go through. So, Dean, you want to just finish off there? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just going to answer Clive's question about, he just asked about match fitness. Unfortunately, match fitness is probably not wonderful right now. I mean, we can do, as I said before, we can do as much as you want. I mean, I'm doing skipping and press-ups, and I'm joining in with like online classes, and I'm trying to keep a base level, but the match fitness you will never, ever replicate without playing matches.
Exactly.
The bonus that we have is that we're all in the same position. It's not like Polokwane can train. It's not like Amazulu can train. It's not like it's just a lockdown on Joburg. The whole league is on lockdown. Cosmos can't train. Nobody can train. So the good thing is that we're all exactly in the same position. Not one club has got any sort of fitness advantage. It's really what the guys have been doing at home. And when we are given the green light, what the training plan is, how they get you up to speed, and how long you've got. That's what's really the key questions that need to be answered. So the good thing is that we're all at exactly the same level. And if it takes 10 days, if it takes 3 weeks, I think the clubs will have to put on training programs to get the guys up to speed as quickly as possible.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm sure the scientific guys are working on it quite extensively. Perfect. Great. Guys, thank you very much. I appreciate your time, and thank you to everyone for joining us. Please join us on Monday for the chat with Gavin Hunt, Brian Bolloy, and Janine van Wyk. We will post up some stuff. Dan has posted a link over here for you guys to jump into the crash course that's taking place tomorrow. So please join in. It's a free webinar, and it really is. It's some great tips that you can pick up in the webinar. Dan, I don't know if you want to elaborate a little bit on it.
No, not really. I mean, I don't want to take too much time. I want to say thanks to the panelists. It's been great hanging out with some legends of the game, past and current. And I can add that Martin, I used to hang out with Larry, and I played Little League with him, and he was a superstar. Yeah. So I can add that. We used to just give the ball to Larry, and he was up front, and he would put it away. So that's my 2 cents worth. And yeah, thanks to Kalk as well. You're a Zoom pro yourself, so I think you handled this like a champ.
I've been on too many of your webinars, that's why.
Good stuff. Yeah, so looking forward to seeing everyone back on Monday, 4 o'clock.
Yeah, fantastic. And thank you, Jomo, Martin, Dean. Thank you so much, guys. It's really appreciated. And thank you to Dan for hosting us. And we are going to, if anyone wants to post any questions in that, you can post it into the Zoom webinar chat. And we will be posting this recording live on our YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook pages as soon as it's ready. So thank you very much to everyone. Thank you, guys. Thank you, legends.
Thank you, guys.
All 4 of you, legends.
Good luck, Dean. Thank you. All the best, Dean.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, guys. Thanks,
all the
Kalk.
best, guys. Stay well.
Bye.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye.